Oh, I'm ready. Or I believe in me too. We're gonna have fun. I have stories. Oh, cool. Yeah, I have stories. I have stuff to teach, and we're gonna have some funsies. Um, I guess nothing better since she's already started recording. I didn't expect it. We're gonna have some goldfish and see if that triggers your guys' ASMR. All right, we'll give it like say 2 minutes. No, don't worry. My callbacks and jokes are all pretty personalized, so you'll be all right. All right, it's 9:05, 8:05 my time, 7:05 if you're in the mountains, and 6:05 if you are in the Sunshine State or its neighbors. So I'm thinking we kick it off. Unless anyone needs me to wait another minute. Perfect. I'm ready as well. Okay, welcome to the Tag Talk, the art of offending defenders, which is a provocative title that basically means I'm going to talk about OD. Um, Got some info from Okaven as well. And quick story, the reason I'm doing OD is because it's literally the first thing I knew. And for the first, I think, 3 or 4 seasons that I played Tagpro when I sucked, the only thing I knew was OD. And when I met Okaven, and that's the reason we're buddies now, and he helps with this presentation, he was watching a XLTP scrim where I was like a 28-degree ball. And on Jardum, my teammates twice in one game communicated, Tag Pro lead, past 3, Ice Plat, all you. And so I promptly, with my smart solo OD skills, charged him, hit the Tag Pro, boosted the FC into a spike, and Okaven was like, wow, this guy's cracked. And then later in the game, same thing happened. I did it again, boosted the FC back, and one of my teammates returned him. And from there on out, Okaven and I just loved talking about OD together. So I'm excited to talk about this subject because it's probably the most exciting thing in Tag Pro. It's a freaking art form. So let's get to it. All right, the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about what OD is and what the goal is, as well as misconceptions about playing OD and the goals of it. We're going to talk about the diamond formation and the reason that it's fundamental to OD success. That's probably the first thing you want to master when it comes to OD and understand how to get into it as well. We'll talk bad habits and good habits in OD, and sort of things that can sharpen your game. We're going to discuss situations based on how many players on your team are ahead in playing OD and how that changes things, because it's one of those things where we use different tools in different situations when we're playing OD. We're going to discuss the ultimate goal behind OD and how to transition out of it and into a reset, because that's kind of the point of playing OD. And then we'll quickly remind everyone that hydrating, among other things, is important when we're playing Tagpro and taking care of ourselves in real life. So during the course of this, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm trying to keep it somewhat surface level and get everyone to a certain level of understanding. Maybe one day, either on stream or off stream, I'll talk about some more advanced concepts, and I'm totally willing to go into advanced concepts if you have a question related to what we're talking about at that moment, or at the end of the slideshow, I'll hang around for a little bit as well. So that being said, we're also going to talk about Choose Doodles Mom. So, yeah. Okay, so let's quickly talk about what OD is and the goals and misconceptions of OD. OD stands for offensive defense. It's what we play when the other team's FC grab the flag and get past our defense. And then as offenders, we switch from trying to grab the flag to a mindset where we are now defending the scoring chance, preventing it from happening. So that's the basic concepts. The misconceptions about OD. OD is not about just getting a return right away. Getting a return can be a part of OD, but we don't want to just rush out recklessly and go for a return that can end up costing us more than it's worth. We want to maintain control, and there's other goals when we're playing OD. There's also a misconception that once the defenders get past, until they get back in the play, they're not a part of OD, and that's not true either. Anyone on the field should be contributing to whoever's playing OD. If you're on defense, your job is going to be to give as much information to those players about where the FC is and how he's getting in. So I want to know if he's walking, boosting. I want to know if he's bombing. I want to know if he's just sitting and waiting before he comes in. As much as you can, as quickly as you can, with as few words as possible. And we're not going to go into depth about efficient comms, but that's a good thing to talk about as well. So yeah, and obviously anyone ahead of the FC is going to be contributing to playing OD as well. So that one's kind of obvious. Grabbing is the best course of action. A lot of people like to grab on OD, whether it's just kind of tempting and they know better, or they don't know better and they just try to grab and be a hero. A lot of times we call this a pull. So a pull can help, but usually it's more of a last course of action. You don't want to be, you don't want all three of your players to go, okay, like it's time to play on our, or excuse me, work on OD, like the flag's coming in, everyone grab, let's hope one guy gets out. Whee! And then let's talk about some of the goals. For the goals, delaying the other team's scoring opportunity so that your teammates can get ahead, that's kind of the main one. It kind of counters what we talked about with the always getting a return. Sometimes we don't need to get a return. Sometimes two of us just need to hold out long enough for our defenders to catch up, and now, instead of trying to stop the cap with two players, maybe we're doing it with four. Okay? Or three with an anti. Doesn't really matter. The idea is sometimes it's a time delay so that you can regain control of the situation, and then your team can coordinate how you guys are going to get back into a more favorable and frankly more fun phase of the game where you're trying to score or get a reset. We can also use OD to make the other team's scoring opportunities as undesirable as possible. Think about maps where there's a lot of good boosts on one side and the other side is more spiky and not very element heavy. OD is something that we can use to kind of contain them into that. And if they want to come cap, that's great. Come cap, but you're not going to have anything to work with. You're just going to have to walk into, our wall essentially. That's kind of a goal as well, is delaying time and then creating really bad chances for the opponent, whatever, the other team to score. OD also, when your teammates all kind of have a similar, understanding of OD or these strategies and concepts, it's a good way to play cohesively against the enemy and try to, be on the same page. We obviously want to communicate, and OD is one of those phases of the game where teams that communicate and talk about, one, what the plan is, two, what everyone's role in that plan is, they're more successful. Last night, shout out to my Ice Caps. There were some very defensive games where we should have let up a lot more caps, but it ended up being a situation where they were able to hold out and get some resets. So you do that sort of thing, you can keep yourself in games that maybe you're not even playing your best, or maybe the other team's offense is just really strong, but you can limit the damage that they're able to do. And then one of the golden goals is obviously we're trying to do those first three things as much as possible so that we can transition out of OD and look for a reset. And whether that's through a pull and then a kiss to get a reset, or whether that's to, in general, just kind of get a reset by killing the FCs until they have no regrabs. That's kind of the ultimate goal there. And then the other one, well, I thought I had another goal, but oh well. Anyway, let's talk about Diamond OD. Diamond OD is the basic OD concept that everyone should kind of learn. Anka and Amy showed me this concept when I was a rookie, and then we went from there. The reason that it's as favored as possible, and can you guys see my mouse when I wave around, by the way? Is this like a pointer? If someone can confirm. Perfect. The reason that it's so good is because it gives us 360 degrees of rotation, so this full circle is coverable by our players. Now, not literally, these spots aren't really covered, but they're not relevant either, because the FC can hang out here as much as he wants and he's not going to score. But you can see, if he goes into this area, this guy's got a shot at him as soon as he comes too close. If the FC just, straight lines past this guy, well, this guy has an inside angle where he can get a pull or attack the FC there. Thank you. Appreciate it, Anka. So, yeah, and aside from that, it looks cool when you do it right, so you can impress Jesus' mom, which is always a huge plus. So that's Diamond OD. Now let's talk Diamond OD for Dummies. How do you get into Diamond and hold it? I created a little chart here, so we're just going to go step by step. Cyan OD blocks the guy that's blocking the blue player as OD, the blue player as the blue player rotates over the block. So these guys are teammates. I just changed their color so it's easier for me to identify them. Pink is blocking cyan, red is blocking blue. Cyan's going to come over here and hit the red player and block him from the side. And the blue player, once he sees that, is going to rotate over the cyan player and the red player. And it's probably not going to be this drastic. It's probably going to be a little bit tighter on the rotation. But that's step one. Step two is while red player is crapping himself because he realizes that he's about to get put in a diamond, cyan player is going to hang out here as the red player gets into position. And then this red player is going to kind of wedge himself into this play, push the cyan player in, and they're going to grab leverage between these two players. So now they've created a sandwich where both of them are hanging out. And I believe the next graphic will show that. Yep. So this takes a little bit of just feeling out and chemistry with the player. The more you practice, the more it comes naturally. But eventually, as long as you have one guy hit, one guy rotate, you can get yourself into this by feeling out how to get into this position. Ideally, you want to get into an OD or a diamond position pretty close to the flag, set up as the FC is coming in. And that way, this isn't the easiest thing to hold for forever, but it is going to buy you some precious time as the FC comes because they're going to have to change their approach the defense is going to have to wiggle out of this, kind of like wiggling out of something they're trapped in, handcuffs or whatever, and that's going to waste time. And so meanwhile, you have maybe another defender coming in off screen to assist with the return or regain control here and get over here and contain this guy. So, and if we do all that correctly, Cheese Doodle's mom swoons. So, yeah. All right. So let's talk bad and good habits of OD. This is kind of fine-tuning your OD skills. It's a long story. It's not an obsession. I just think it's really funny. Bad and good habits here on OD, though. Let's start with some bad habits. We don't want to grab while we're playing OD. We don't want to push too far out. So it's okay to push out when the FC's coming in, but we want to kind of close in. We'll talk about this concept in a minute. I call it an umbrella. But you don't want to push too far out because that puts you in a position where you're very easy to block out. You don't want to cover the same side as your partner and leave another side uncovered. So you kind of have to be aware of whose responsibility is which side. You don't want to be quiet and just kind of, watch your teammate play with his thumbs while you play with your thumbs on the other side and hope that when the flag comes over, you guys are able to get it or, make a play alone. And we don't want to be behind the flag as they're coming in. Anytime you hear the opponent grab, you should ask your defense what's going on and how much in danger you guys are. Because if the FC's out, we don't want to be behind this flag. And so it's a good habit to be in front of it until we get that information anyway. So something to just be aware of. Put yourself in kind of a good stance ahead of time. Now let's talk some good habits. Diamond OD, we just covered that one. That's a very good habit. If you know how to do diamond, you can pull it out of your pocket pretty easily anytime. Closing the umbrella. So this is kind of a analogy or a picture I like to use as far as how OD works. This guy is the FC. I just forgot to give him a little flag, but let's just assume he is the flag here. These are our two guys that are going to be playing OD. As this guy approaches, these guys can start out here and sort of send this guy a certain direction. Maybe we corral him to the left because we like that better. This is an IKEA umbrella, you're correct. But anyway, we can corral him out here, but as he approaches and makes his attack on the flag, think of it as closing the umbrella. We want to be a lot closer to this flag so that when we make diamond, we're somewhere in this ballpark here. It's the easiest to control the FC that way. But it's not a bad thing to kind of start out and close the umbrella as you go. It just forces the FC to work with less room, which is ideal, right? Also, this kind of goes into not advanced tricks of the trade, but tricks of the trade that like people probably won't teach you. You have to learn on your own. But if you can come out here, a lot of defenders will get overzealous, and you can kind of do a, oh, look at me, I'm running out to get the contain, and the defender will be like, oh, look at me, I'm going to go block you. And when they go to block you, you can sometimes pivot and do a quick turnaround and get inside leverage. And anytime you can get inside leverage, that's a good thing because that means that you're in control of who's going to access this flag, whether it's your teammate or the FC. Does that make sense? That inside leverage concept and also the umbrella concept? I'll give you a quick second, someone to confirm that that was that landed. Perfect. Thank you. As mentioned, we want to communicate the plan and the rules that everyone has. So if we're connecting or moving this guy to the left as we close to the flag and kind of closing him off and pushing him against this wall, then we want to communicate that we're moving to the left, and that way, this guy knows to hold here and this guy knows to kind of hold here, and we're corralling him over. And another big thing, this isn't just, asking the defense for information as well as giving the offense information. This is kind of an echo. If you're wondering where the FC is, you need to be asking for that information, and the defense should be giving it back to you. If the defense wants to know, are you guys going to prevent this cap, or should we play defense because there's no freaking way we're saving it? they should be asking you that, because in reality, it's not worth getting ahead and letting them have a regrab train if we know that a cap is going to happen. So you should be kind of echoing back to each other questions and answers about what you're doing. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so now we're going to talk OD in numbers, because there's 4 OD, 3 OD, 2 OD, and solo OD, and all of those are played a little differently. Let's start with 4 OD. There's kind of two main ways that we'll cover as far as what 4 OD can look like. If you're doing it right, there's going to be 3 players ahead regardless. So let's just walk through here. 2 players play OD, right? There they are. And 2 of them contain. Okay, so in this situation, this guy would be out here. These 2 guys are containing together, and they're kind of just deciding when they have a good chance to get the return on this flag. So the second they return it, we don't have anti, but that's okay, because these guys are going to continue to play OD, and these guys are going to start to slowly figure out where this regrab is coming from, and they're going to close in on him. This is going to be the regrab tile. So that's one way to do it as far as 4 OD goes. Everyone's ahead as a safety blanket. 2 of them get the return. 2 of them are insurance in case something weird happens and they get beat. The other way to do it is with 3 OD, which is a good segue into our next slide. And this visual is exactly what we're talking about with 3 OD. We're going to have the 2 guys playing OD here. We're going to have one guy, and his sole job is to contain. And so with this guy, I think this actually, we might go to the next slide because this kind of goes over it a little more. But this guy's going to contain the flag here, and if we get into a stalemate where this guy isn't moving and this guy can't return him, then we'll quickly call for anti to come off and push him. They'll try to secure that return real quick, and then they can refocus on trying to get the kill on regrab and get a return or a reset that way. So that's kind of 2 ideas behind 4 OD. Let's segue into 3 OD. We just kind of talked about it, but on 3 OD, we need to have 2 players playing closer to the flag, right? Just like this picture. And then the third one's kind of containing the FC. And so, yeah, let's talk about this picture. This third guy, his job is to contain, and we kind of talked about how on OD, it's smart to corral a player into a less favorable position. So if we have this guy here, maybe his job isn't to contain in a traditional stance. Maybe he's just trying to say, okay, these guys have a strong stance on the left side of the flag. I'm going to push this guy so that he does try to come into cap because he has no other option. But he does it in a very poor way because I have this imaginary wall that I'm drawing. As I close in on him and kind of force him to the left, this wall is going to move with me. Does that sort of make sense? And I'll keep talking as you guys answer that. But yeah, so one idea behind 3 OD is you have a numbers advantage, technically. You don't have a third blocker to take care of this guy, and if you do, then so be it. You would have to drag out another player anyway, so your anti-is not going to be there, and you likely get a reset that way. Yeah, exactly. And so think of OD this way, if you have to, like, if there's a boost over here, let's say, you know, this guy's guarding the boost. Now he's segregated from the boost, we're going to force him to play us straight up. This guy's just, all his job is to close in, and if he cuts back, he gets the return. Otherwise, we're going to force him to our strong point here, and, you know, these guys can push out together at the same time, and the 3 can get a return that way, right? So that's one way to play 3 OD. Kind of a good basic thought. The big thing with 3 OD that people get wrong is they think, oh, I have numbers, therefore this guy can be aggressive. And he forgets the wall. He just chases this guy until this guy kind of panics and quickly runs up the flag. But they don't think at all about where their strengths are on OD, and suddenly this guy gets behind here in caps because none of these guys were on the same page. Let's take that away and think 2 OD. Okay, so we talked a little about the umbrella concept and peeking out, right? Okay, yeah, exactly. So let's talk umbrella and then into a diamond. Here, let's say there's a ton of space. The FC's coming in and we have good comms, and these guys are like, okay, we know where the FC's coming from. Let's, you know, kind of reel them in. The FC's coming, and they're realizing we're not going to get a return right away. So you can fade back and kind of close the umbrella like we talked about and get an OD position closer to the flag. You've wasted a lot of time for the FC by being there to make him like take his time going through this space, because if you were all the way back here, he gets through here way faster without thinking, and then he attacks you. So that's the strength behind an umbrella. Once we get into diamond, we're obviously looking to waste time so that our teammates can catch up. Realistically, if you play diamond once or twice per attack, then your defense should be able to get there. Otherwise, they're doing something wrong and they need to be more efficient with their boosts to get ahead. Okay? And solo OD. Solo OD is where the really good OD players kind of make their money and show how impressive they can be. And solo OD is all about knowing the rules of OD, but then realizing some of those rules need to be thrown out when you're on your own. The really basic thing that you should take away from solo OD, if nothing else, like if you don't care about solo OD except you want one tool in your belt, is if the FC's coming, you're going to start urgently asking for comms about how the FC is approaching. I'm going to go to my defense and say, solo OD, where's FC? FC left. Perfect. I forget these two guys because I'm not going to beat two blockers, and I just rush out left, pretty much as fast as I can, try to surprise this guy, and maybe I get a return, or maybe he goes a really far angle, and now, the cavalry's coming in, and we crash, and now we're in a favorable position. Another example from Arctag Ice Caps, if you watch Smoji. Smoji has been killing it with his solo OD this season. He's very disciplined and confident in his ability to run out and kind of charge a player. If you want a majors example, Ballerina comes to mind. I bet you Jig does the same thing, as well as anyone that's known for OD is going to do this concept very easily. So that's solo OD. And then one more little thing that I'm remembering just now. If you can't get out of a block and you know that they're going to be able to block you, you can't rush out, do a sandwich. A sandwich puts you in a position where the defenders are pushing against each other, so they cancel each other out. And that gives you kind of neutral momentum so that when the FC comes by, you have like one move to decide, I'm going to rush him or I'm going to get at the flag. Does the sandwich concept make sense? Cool. And then transitioning into a reset. As we kind of talked about, these are somewhat goals. We're going to start on OD, use all the tools that we kind of had, and we're going to regain control of the situation because ideally, or realistically, that's kind of how we got into the mess. The FC got a jump on us. They have a chance to score now. So we're going to slow the play down. We're going to get players ahead so that, we have the advantage in the numbers game. And then as we're playing OD, we're going to think about whether we can get a return or whether we need to try and get a pull out so that the flag is out of their base. And now we have two flags in the field so that we can look for an anti and a kiss to get a reset that way. Essentially, we're going to, while we're playing OD, think about how we can transition towards a reset. And then once that happens, we're going to execute that plan, right? And then if we get a return without playing anti, so this is kind of related to the 4OD concept, right? If we get a return and all four of us are ahead, the two guys that are playing OD should still be playing OD, and they should know that because the defenders should be coming. We're still on OD, we still have to get regrab. And as regrab comes out, the two guys containing the guy that they just returned should slowly be figuring out where is the FC and then kind of crash on him controlled but efficiently. If you can get two quick returns, that's just as effective as playing anti. And it's nice because you have two guys working for that return, and the other four players on the map are going to be in the enemy's base playing OD. That's OD though. We'll talk more about it if you guys have questions. Let's talk about the mental aspects of Tagpro. There's a lot of things, and this isn't just Tagpro, this is real life. That's why, Of course, it's kind of a meme to be talking about how you can take care of yourself to perform better in a video game, but um, these are good habits for real life as well, whether it comes to friends, family, other hobbies, whatever, right? Um, so let's talk about them because they're important. Make sure to hydrate adequately throughout the game and before games, and have water sources to drink during your games, right? Look, not exactly because they're depressing, but uh, we also want to talk about sleep, getting consistent and adequate sleep. Figure out how much sleep works best for you, whether it's 8 hours or whatever. Um, and also figure out if you're a morning person, make a schedule, write down when your bedtime should be and when you like to get up. And sometimes I find it helpful to jot down some things that will kickstart my day or that I'll wrap my day up with, right? Activities are great. Going for a walk, if you play music, do an exercise. Those sorts of things help you move your body a little bit, get some good blood flow, stretch out a bit. That'll physically help make you feel better, straight up. Eating healthy meals and doing it consistently, breakfast, lunch, dinner. If your body's constantly hydrated and fed, then you're constantly going to feel good. If you just eat at the end of the day, well, you might feel good after your body's like, holy crap, I'm eating for the first time in 3 days. But it'll take a minute. Keeping your hands warm. Unironically, your reaction time is faster when your hands are warm. You can do that with a hand warmer, keep them in your pockets. I don't know, if you're a fire guy, do them by a bonfire before you play Tagpro or something. Mittens, gloves, whatever, right? Stretch. Stretch is something I just like to do. Yoga and stretching in the morning just to kind of wake myself up before I get the day going. It's just fun. During games, this is kind of about staying calm, but if you can breathe consistently and just kind of keep a calm breath, I know sometimes we tilt, sometimes things get unideal and our stress level goes up a little bit. You're going to play worse when you let that happen. So keep a consistent breath and communicate with a calm voice to your teammates. The calmer that you guys can play, the better. You'll make think of it as a bunch of, I know it's a video game, but think of it as a bunch of emergencies that you're figuring out. When you're in an emergency, the first thing you want to do is stay calm, and you want to make good decisions regarding that, right? Praises for your teammates. I know not everyone's a fan of being wholesome, but I promise you, uh, someone who's wholesome and calm is going to make their teammates play better than someone who's raging or doesn't want to be there or like whatever. Like attitude does make a big difference. So if you're wondering an easy way to improve your game, be a good teammate. Be someone that's fun to be around because we're doing this for fun at the end of the day. Um, Quick questions and quick answers during games. That's more strategy based, but I love efficient comms. My team knows that I can't can't stop talking about efficient comms and what they are and stuff, but it's important. Tapping your keys rather than pressing hard. This kind of goes towards the next thing too. Um, if you press keys really hard, your muscles are going to get stiff, and you're not going to be able to move as freely as far as your ball goes. And also, keeping a neutral posture and relaxing your muscles is helpful regardless of what you're doing, because it kind of goes back to setting yourself up for consistent breaths and a calm body posture. Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you for attending the Tag Talk. I think we got towards a few minutes over. Oh, we did about 30 minutes. There were plenty of mom jokes to answer your first question. There were probably about 5. Yeah, no, they're there. Don't worry. Anyways, any questions about OD or otherwise, I'm happy to answer for the next few minutes. Otherwise, I'll wrap this up. Thanks, Anka. I don't, but if I ever meet her, it'll be really weird. Good comps. I'll talk to you offline about that because that's not OD related and that could be an hour conversation. My captain already kind of answered this, but what about anti-leaving to counter a JJ or running or rolling bomb? Yes, definitely. So if there's a pup in the field, you shouldn't be playing anti. If there's a Tagpro, JJ, or rolling bomb, it's kind of an all hands on deck situation. If there's a rolling bomb on regrab, then you're probably playing anti to counter that rolling bomb, as long as there's not another dangerous pup out there. But in my opinion, you don't want to be playing anti while there's a pup in the fields. You kind of want to be setting up to counter that advantage with more people playing in the field. Once that pup is back, you can worry about playing anti again. At least that's my coaching preference. I haven't heard a lot of other people with a different opinion on that, but unless the pup is about to cap, right? Exactly. That's a very good what's the word? Exception. Anytime the other team is about to cap, if you know it and there's no chance of you stopping it, we want to be playing anti no matter what the situation is. That way we can get a reset, right? And if we can get a reset during a pup advantage for the other team, that's obviously huge. Any other questions? I don't think I missed any. Patience, practice, dedication. I think the biggest thing is if you want to get good, pick one thing you want to get good at, do it obsessively. So if you want to win pups, fight for pups, and do it in even like a pub, just do it over and over and over. Once you get get good at pups, you just pick the next thing. You want to get good at grabs, figure out what good habits are of grabbing, practice them over and over obsessively. One thing at a time, I think, is the fastest way to do it. If you try to get good at 1,000 things at a time, it's just not going to be as efficient, because that repetition is key. I've answered that before on streams or podcasts, but long story short, it's a personality thing, the duality of my personality, and it has some meaning behind it. I can talk about that on stream so I don't bore people. Or off stream, sorry. All right, anything else related to OD? The right capitalization would be that. And it's based off that. Best OD I've ever seen. If you haven't, check out Okay Then's OD God montage. I can actually DM that or drop it to you at some point. It's solo OD, so it's very pretty. Okay Then has because OD is one of those concepts that you can learn the basics, and then however much you want to learn about it, you can. But as long as you have a basic understanding, you can use it and be just fine. He has a very deep understanding of it, especially when it comes to solo OD. He does ridiculous things that not a lot of people pull off. So he has a fun montage or two about it. No comment on that question. I haven't seen him play very much, but the OD God is Okay Then. I don't think it's Jehobo. All right, I think we're slowly going to wind down unless Riley has a question here. Both of them are in their own rights. That's a good spot to wrap up on. Cheese, are you here? If he is.
I am here.
Oh,
what's up?
Perfect. We're just wrapping up here. So, however we want to close it up, let's do it. But thanks for having me host here.
Yeah, I think we're good. If anyone has topics they would like to see a future tag talk on, or they would like to present themselves a tag talk of some sort, please reach out to me. If nobody else does, I think I have something planned for next Thursday. After that, the slot's definitely open. So let me know what you're thinking. Thank you for attending tonight, and thank you, Platt, for this presentation. I didn't get a chance to watch it live, but I'm definitely going to watch the VOD back. So
Sounds
thank you
good, and you'll
much.
fight me for it. Love you, cheers.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.